If you like keys and you like locks, actually, even if you don't care about keys and locks, but you appreciate interesting tools, you're going to like today's episode. So we're actually in the garage today. It's a hot summer night, and I've got the lights on. There are beetles and moths flying around, so you're bound to see things flying throughout the frame. But today I'm going to talk about a little bit about locks and keys, but what I really want to show you is one of my favorite tools, and that is the A1 Pak A Punch. Now, this tool is designed to cut keys, not to duplicate keys, to actually cut original keys from key blanks. I think it's really well engineered. I think it's a fascinating tool. I've liked it for years. Now, it's not something that you're going to want to go out and buy because it's really a locksmithing tool, which I'm no locksmith, but I do play around with it a little bit. Now, I can't get into how locks work, how keys work, but I can tell you just a little bit about the basics. If you look at a lock, you've got a housing, you've got a cylinder with a plug in it, and when you put the key in, the lock turns. We all know that that's what happens. We might not know why it happens or how it happens, but that's how it works. Now, the simple concept, and this is really a crash course, just basic. The simple concept is that you have two sets of pins. You have top pins in the housing, and then you have bottom pins in the cylinder. When there's no key in the lock, those top pins with springs behind them push down into the cylinder, and when they push down into the cylinder through little holes, they prevent the cylinder from turning. Now, likewise, if I put a key blank in the cylinder, now I've pushed all the bottom pins up into the housing. And with the bottom pins pushed up into the housing, the lock won't turn. The only way to make this lock work is to have the proper key, which makes all the pins line up perfectly on this line across the top called the shear line, and that allows the lock to turn. So each one of these notches that you see on a key, or the teeth, represent a pin. If you've looked closely, you'll see that the notches are of varying depth. The pins inside are of varying length. So when the key goes in, it's set up for the exact length of the pin, and it pushes the pin up to the exact position where it will allow the lock to turn. Now, you could make a lock with just one pin, and if you had a key with one notch and the pin lined up, it would release and you could unlock it. The only reason there are 5 notches on this key is for added security. You could have 4 of these notches that are correct and one could be off. And if just one of those is off, it won't turn. You have to have all 5 line up perfectly. So how does this Pak A Punch work? Well, it has a die built into it, and the die cuts out a little piece of the brass key for each one of these notches. It's a great design. I'm going to show you a close-up of how it works. So the tool includes an anvil, or a holder, that holds a key blank. You slide the key in and you lock it into place. And then this sliding anvil goes into the unit. And remember, there were 5 numbers, 7, 7, 4, 5, 3. There are 5 notches. In fact, let me turn it around and you'll see. You can see those are the first 3 notches on the key. And as I move this to position 2, it locks in position 3. Now that's position 4, comes out the other side. You can see it there, 4, 5, and 6. Even though this key only has 5 notches, they do make an SC4 which has 6 notches, but in this case we're only using the first 5. The SC4 is a little bit longer of a key than this one, which is the SC1. Let's not get too confused about that. So we know that the first notch on this key is a depth of 7. So we rotate the key until we get to position number 1, We line that up where it needs to be. Hard time focusing. And then on this dial, this is the depth setting. So I'm going to set this to 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a line on the top. So now that is set to a depth of 7 for position number 1. And I'll just squeeze the trigger and it will cut out that little notch single-handed. Now you can see that nice little piece of brass that it cut out nice and clean. That's the first of 5 cuts. So now we go to position or notch number 2, which is also a 7. And then position 3, which is the depth of 4. To 4, which is going to be not as deep. We cut the number 4. Then we go to position 4, which is a depth of 5. Click to the 5. And then finally position 5, which is a depth of 3. 7, 7, 4, 5, 3. Go to the depth of 3 and squeeze. Now, this key is an exact match to the original. So, when we put the new key in the lock, it works perfectly. Pretty neat, right? Okay, let me dive a little deeper, all right? So you might be wondering, well, what if I don't have the original key and I don't have that number stamped on the side? Well, there's another neat little tool where you can decode the depth of each one of those grooves. I'll show that to you too. So I also happen to have a Schlage repinning set. Not going to get into that, but what came in this set is this little decoder, and I'll show you how that works. So let's say you have a key like the one we just made, and there's no number on this key because it was a blank. So how can we tell what these grooves are? Well, that's where this cool decoder comes in, and this is again specific to Schlage. They all have different lengths and different depths of pins and whatnot, but this is such a simple concept. You can see that it's wedge shaped. So the bigger the number, the deeper the cut. So I'll put this key in and I'll line up the first, let me show you here, that first groove. It's a 7. Second groove, 7. 4, 5, 3. Very cool. And the one thing to remember, again, not that you're going to be doing this every day, or maybe not at all, but interesting fact, when you have these numbers, you hold the key with the teeth facing up, and then you read left to right, 7, 7, 4, 5, 3. Now I think this tool is just ingenious. It's made in the USA. It is really heavy duty. It's machined out of solid steel, or the parts are made out of solid steel. It's really well made. What's sad is that this tool is no longer available. From what I understand, the A1 company either went out of business or stopped making this tool altogether. So if you do find one, even a used one, you're going to pay about $600 for it. So it's an expensive tool. Even when I bought it about 5 years ago, it was like $400. So they're not cheap, they're specialized, but I hope that another company picks up the manufacturing and offers the tool, because there's really nothing else like it that I'm aware of. So that's the Pak A Punch in a nutshell. It's not a tool that you're going to see every day in a garage. It's not too common, but it's really neat, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you would click the like button, hit subscribe, tap the little bell so you're notified next time I put out a video, and I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. So have a great day, and I'll see you next time.